Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is the Thursday NFL pregame show. And Maddie, before I fuck this up 2 weeks in a row, we have two games to go over before we end this show because of the 8:30 game.
The European Games?
Yeah, I don't know where that is. Is that in England? Is that in? I didn't even look. I didn't even notice
Pretty
that there
sure
was
it's in Germany.
I was going to say I didn't even realize there was another overseas game until I pulled up DraftKings this morning and go, oh shit, don't fuck that up 2 weeks in a row.
Deutsche Bank Park in Frankfurt is where it's at.
Well, don't worry, they got fucked on this game.
Yeah, I mean, they did get that. I'm salty about the scheduling, but they did get fucked on this one, so that makes me feel a bit better.
That's why I said it, because I know how you feel about what Germany got compared to England.
They just got Tom Brady against the Chiefs last time, and then they get the Chiefs against the Dolphins this time, which turned out to be a great fucking game, even though it didn't look like it was going to be at all. And then they got and yeah, so like we just don't get that standard of game, whereas they seem to get it all the time. But now they've got the Patriots Colts, so now they know how we feel.
Well, touch on the Colts real quick. They got a fucking team. Like they do. Like Richardson's hurt. They don't have a top tier quarterback right now. But that team scores fucking points. More points than I think they should almost every week. Like they can score.
Yeah, the Colts have. Look, we said this kind of like at the start of the season. We were like, the Colts have plenty of building blocks that should be there. Like, I'm not sure how many people actually thought their offensive line would be as bad as last season, because you can't have that much talent on an offensive line and it be as bad as last season. But once they got the deal with Jonathan Taylor sorted out, it was like, yeah, they've got talent. An ex-wide receiver would do them a lot of good, and a quarterback that's not Gardner Minshew.
And their offensive line looks more like 2 years ago than last year. So
yeah,
was that awful coaching? Was that awful quarterback play, holding the ball too long? Both injuries, all of it. Something happened last year where that team just wasn't the same. And I think we're seeing more of what we thought they were going to be before last year's meltdown.
Yeah, they've gone 27 points, 38 points, 20, 23, 23, 22, 31, 31, 27. Like, that's them. That's their points totals this season. So they haven't got a game under 20 is their lowest score this year.
And what if they got Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft? Follow your dad's footsteps right into the same team. Like that'd be a story to go for them, and it'd be a great pickup because they do need that star wide receiver.
Yeah, I feel like they might be playing a little bit too well to get him.
Everybody is saying stuff that he's not going in the top 5. He's just not. It's not what happens in the NFL. It's quarterbacks, pass rushers.
Okay, I mean, this guy...
There's going to be 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 5. I guarantee it.
3 quarterbacks taken in the top 5. So
yeah.
Caleb Williams, Drake May.
Bo Nichols might go in the top 5. The fucking kid I keep forgetting from Washington could go in the top 5. He's a more accurate Anthony Richardson. Like it's Penix.
Penix, yeah. Penix.
He could go in the top 5. He's a more accurate Anthony Richardson. Like I think you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks in the first round this year because there's so much talent that could be walking into the draft. So I think that pushes everybody back because even if other guys, you and I know this, even if Marvin Harrison is rated on everybody's big board as the best player in the draft, you're still going to pick a quarterback over him.
Yeah, you definitely. Obviously, you pick a quarterback before the wide receiver. However, with the way that the picks are going to be stacked, who is it who has 2 picks? And is it the Bears are going to have the Bears could have the first pick and the third pick?
they'll fuck that up. They ain't taking Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to be like, we have Mooney, we have fucking, and they do have good receivers. You just have a shit quarterback, so you better pick a quarterback.
Yeah, so you take a quarterback,
and then
you're
end.
They're going to have 2 picks in the top 5,
and they need
any more defensive ends. They need offensive anything.
They do need more defensive ends. I mean, but they need offensive linemen too. That's another one that goes high. I just don't think that you're going to see a receiver that high. I could be wrong, but I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends where the Colts are going to get to. Just on your point, the Colts are actually 7th in scoring offense in the league, averaging 25.8 points a game. The only teams that are above them: Dolphins, Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, Bills, Ravens. Notable teams below them are the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Lions, and everybody else you kind of like, I expect them to be below you. So they can put up points. You're not wrong.
All right, well, let's talk some Minnesota Vikings, Atlanta Falcons. As of right now, if the league ended today, the Vikings are in the playoffs still, because they were last week too. But I fucking hate the narrative that's coming out of this game. I fucking hate it. People are like, Josh Dobbs balled the fuck out. Bro, he had 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 fucking fumbles, and 66 yards rushing. So now are we saying 220-ish yards of total offense is balling out? Is that what we're saying in the NFL now?
I think when
what he did was amazing, but he didn't ball out.
Yeah. Yes. I think Josh Dobbs has been the king of surprising us for the past 2 seasons now, with what he did in Tennessee, what he's done for the Cardinals at the start of the season.
They won 1 game. He was balling.
But they win 1 game, but they still look more competitive. Do you see what happened to them when he wasn't in? They had
they lost like usual.
Yeah, but the quarterback had on fantasy. The quarterback had. Did you see this? He had minus 0.8.
Who was it?
Toon minus 0.8. He went 11-20, threw for 58 yards and 2 interceptions.
How do you throw 11 completions for 58 yards?
He's also their leading rusher for 5 carries and 28 yards.
How do you throw only 58 yards on 11 completions?
I feel like there was
Charlie
checkdowns. Well, the lead receiver for the Cardinals in that game is Marquise Brown with 4 receptions and 24 yards. So I think we got to give Dobbs some credit there, right? Like Dobbs is an excellent backup quarterback.
I think more credit needs to go to Kevin O'Connell than.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell,
give props to 2 people.
He did was rush that offense, and the reason he hurried them to the line every time is so that he could stand at the line, still talking in Dobbs' ears, and going, the X wide receivers running a slant, the Y wide receivers running this, the tight ends running this, and this is the concept. Go and that's the greatest thing Kevin O'Connell did. I think motherfuckers better start realizing that Kevin O'Connell is one of the top coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, Dobbs came out and said that Kevin O'Connell was translating the plays for him. So he was translating the plays into the playbook that Dobbs already knew, which is fucking incredible. That's amazing. Being able to do that. But you can give props to 2 people. You can give props to 3 people.
What he did was amazing. Yeah. Can we stop acting like it was the greatest game of quarterbacks ever? If you listen to the talking heads this week, he's the greatest Now, they shit on him his whole career. Now, after this game, they're like, can he replace Kirk Cousins? Is he the next Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
Is he the fucking greatest thing that's ever happened? And I'm like, can we fucking slow down? Yes, he beat the 6th ranked defense in the NFL. But what is the offense rated in? And the Vikings defense played great. But Taylor Heineke did Taylor Heineke shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm glad they won. Don't get me wrong. I don't like the hype they're putting around Dobbs because it just sets up for a huge fucking downfall.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing that Cowboys fans were doing when Cooper Rush came in and played really well. It's that level. It's like, yes, you've got a very serviceable backup quarterback who's done, and Josh Dobbs has done something amazing, and it is well known around the league that he is probably the smartest quarterback, the smartest player in the NFL. Like, he's probably got the highest IQ in the NFL. So he's the kind of guy that you want around your team. An excellent backup QB. However, your team is better with Kirk Cousins than it is with Josh Dobbs. So
if they can turn
let's
him
not
in,
go too crazy.
If they can turn him into a better starter than Kirk Cousins, by all means, move on. I just don't know if it'll happen. And all you're doing is setting this kid up for fucking kid. He's 28, but all you're doing is setting this guy up for fucking failure, like a huge downfall because of the praise. And what he did is amazing, but like, it makes me nervous. Does that make sense as a fan? Like,
yeah,
because they got him up here now, and so now if he just plays even Josh Dobbs football, if they lose against the Saints, then he's the worst thing that ever fucking happened again.
Yeah, I think there's a level here. PFF. I was listening to the PFF podcast today, and they were saying how they called Josh Dobbs a dual threat quarterback, and I was like, I'm not sure I would call him a dual threat quarterback. I would say he can run, like, but he's not a dual threat. I'm not threatened by Josh Dobbs' legs or his arm, really. But what I am threatened by is his ability to dissect the game. So he's not a dual threat. He's just
I will
smart.
say he did hit some dimes that he threw. That throw to fucking to Jordan Addison on the sideline, that was fucking remarkable. The one over the shoulder, the touchdown to Powell, but like,
I just don't think Josh Dobbs is going to beat me with either his legs or his arms. Like, I don't think that's going to work.
I do think that you'll see the best of Josh Dobbs in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And I also think that with the improvement of the Vikings, defense, I still think, and the strength of schedule, I still think you guys are probably going to be in the wild card round when it comes down to it. Yeah, I know. But so the key there is for the front office not to get too carried away, still re-sign Kirk Cousins and still draft a quarterback in this draft where there's loads of quarterbacks coming out.
Oh, you mean when we draft in the fucking mid-20s again? Yay.
Just not to get, the key is to not get too carried away on it.
Well, we'll find out sometime today if Justin Jefferson is activated. This is the day he can be reactivated.
Yeah. That would be pretty.
That would be fucking huge. And then Cam Akers gone with a fucking Achilles now too. They don't have a
but Madison looked good. Madison looked good for the first time this season.
Did he?
You don't have the power game.
Did he? 16 for 44. That's 2.8 yards per carry.
16 for 44. Yes, but out of the backfield,
Josh Dobbs was the number one rusher in that game.
Yes, but Madison receiving yards is 2 receptions for 49. So together he's had a close to 100-yard game. I mean, he looked better. Shame that you're not going to be able to see what Jaren Hall has as well.
Yeah, I hate it.
That's unfortunate.
He looked really good in that first drive.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that you can't see what you've got in Jaren Hall, because he went that first drive. He went 5 of 6 for 78 yards, and also
I think he had 11 yards rushing. I think.
Yeah, 2 carries on 11 yards rushing
and a concussion.
So, yeah, there's a lot to like about the Vikings. I think. I think we're in. I think we're in pessimism land a little bit, but Taylor Heineke proving why he should have been starting the whole time. No,
So
but
then
I
it's a
don't.
wasted season playing Josh Dobbs. At least if you're playing Hall, you get to see what you got.
Yeah. I get what you mean. I do get what you mean. I just if you're in the playoffs, you always have the chance, But
If
it
you're in the
keeps good
playoffs with a
culture going.
quarterback, you always have a chance.
Yeah, yes. And you guys will be when Kirk's back next year, and you've built the culture Josh Dobbs to the Jets would have been really interesting with how Zach Wilson played the other day. Having Josh Dobbs at the Jets would be really interesting because if Aaron Rodgers is going to make it back, which I still just don't believe that he's ever going to make it
Did you
back
see he was
for the
fucking?
playoffs.
You see he was doing drop backs, twisting that
Yeah,
ankle, threw a 68-yarder,
I refuse
and then he was
to
on Pat
believe that the
McAfee.
man's
The way
yeah.
he made it sound is he's about 6 weeks away on Pat McAfee.
Yeah, so if they can get so I know the Jets didn't want to throw anything into this season once Aaron Rodgers went down, because it means next season they can get better draft picks to try and fix that offensive line before Aaron Rodgers has to stand behind it. But Josh Dobbs maybe is the difference between him and Zach Wilson and gets them to the playoffs. Is that that's not a wild thing
No, I'd
to
take
say? There are
Dobbs
a
over
couple of
Zach Wilson in a heartbeat. So
if you're a team like the Jets where you're playing for that, then that's what did you guys get Dobbs for? Nothing
we gave
really.
up a 6th and got back a 7th.
Yeah,
We traded a 6th for a 7th.
Nothing crazy. What other teams would Dobbs have made sense on?
Well, maybe the Rams now that they traded for Carson Wentz,
Yeah.
or they signed Carson Wentz.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Looks like he's going to start Sunday too.
Yeah. Well, I imagine he would. You can't sign Carson Wentz to be a backup. It's just not something that you can do. I guess the Titans, funnily enough, with Josh Dobbs, are probably in a better situation. Although Will Levis did look good in his first game.
His first 2
Not
games,
so
he
good
looked
in
pretty
his second.
good. Yeah.
Looked okay in the second.
Yeah, but this is a rookie that fucking has only played.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. So Josh Dobbs, I'd say Josh Dobbs is in the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. But that's maybe taking injuries into account and all of that kind of stuff. Woo!
He's still better than Justin Fields, but
yeah, you have the second best
he's
quarterback
better than
in the
Jordan
division.
Love too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Patriots Commanders game was more interesting than I thought it would be. But what do you think of the rumors that Bill Belichick could be on his way out of there after this season?
I just think it's about time, isn't it? Like, he's probably stayed a year, maybe 2 years too long. Like,
yeah, you should have. Now, hindsight being 2020, you should have dumped him when Brady left.
Oh, if you're the Patriots, yes, but you can't really dump him due to the fan base and all of that kind of stuff. You kind of what they should have done is tried to persuade him into a nice cushy office job role, like the higher level where the higher levels where they don't actually have anything to do with the team, just an advisory role, like some sort of consultancy role for Bill Belichick, where he's still at the stadium, but he's in the box.
The rumors are that he might be the GM and head coach of the Commanders next year. That's why I thought this game was interesting.
Yeah, I don't understand why you would do that. You can't make Bill Belichick the GM. Bill Belichick the GM is awful.
Well, he's been the GM since 2000, so they do have a lot of Super Bowls under his. But so you could argue that's Brady or. Enough. I agree with you. I'm just throwing the devil's advocate argument out there.
Sorry. Recent history of Bill Belichick as the GM is awful, like really bad. Like, imagine how many Super Bowls Tom Brady might have if they could actually build a team. Is the way that I maybe look at that. The 1 year where they gave him like Randy Moss as wide receiver, they were unbelievable. And they just don't like if his best wide receiver for years was Julian Edelman, and no shade on Julian Edelman, but he had no right being that good either.
He had
Like,
no right being that good.
Yeah, Tom Brady. If he wasn't playing with Tom Brady, would Julian Edelman be in the Hall of? Would Julian Edelman be in the running for the Hall of Fame right now?
I mean,
Like,
only if
I
he
don't
played
think
with like
so.
Aaron Rodgers or somebody to the level of Brady. I think then he'd still have the numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He would have to be. He'd have to be in there with Peyton Manning,
Yes,
Aaron
Brady,
Rodgers, like
Rodgers.
those kind
Yeah,
of things. But if you put him with Tony Romo, he's Cole Beasley.
yeah. If you put him even with Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't have the numbers because that's a lot of off play offense, and that is not what he's set for.
Yeah.
He was a receiver where the quarterback drops back on his last 3-step or 7-step. He's letting the ball go to a spot. The receiver's there, timing offense. That's where he was the best at.
Yeah. Julian Edelman is Cole Beasley. So that's Bill Belichick as the GM. He gave the best quarterback of all time, Cole Beasley, as his number one wide receiver. That's what he had. Obviously, he had Gronk as well. So, not obviously, Bill Belichick's had an amazing career, but the Commanders that just give the job to Eric Bieniemy. Give the head coach to Eric Bieniemy if you're looking for a change of coach.
And if Aaron Hernandez wouldn't have been out killing people, they probably would have had another Super Bowl too.
That's a fair point.
But
the GM does the character evaluations.
I don't like Bill Belichick's personality. You're never going to get me to be the super defender of Belichick.
Yeah.
What do you think of that ass whooping that the Ravens? Well, whatever they do is going to be better than what they got.
Yeah, just on that though, like is Sam Howell's progression not a case for Eric Bieniemy to be made their head coach? Not to give him his opportunity. Like the Commanders have had bad enough press. I know what you're gonna say is like the bad press, but the Commanders are the kings of bad press, so it doesn't really matter. What I was just
gonna say is yes, if you're willing to deal with the first month of fallout.
Yeah, and it's the Commanders, so they've had enough. Like they've had that'll be.
But it's new ownership. Do they want to continue that? Like
it'll be just like pissing in the wind for them though, compared to like what you get. Like Sam Howell has been. I think where's the Commanders have the Commanders are a top 10 passing offense with Sam Howell as the quarterback under Eric Bieniemy. Is that not a case for giving him the job and seeing what he can do with it?
Yes, unless the new owners don't want to deal with that first month of backlash.
Yeah, that's fair.
What do you think of the ass whooping the Ravens put on the Seahawks?
I didn't see that coming at all. Did you see that? I was really excited for that game. I was hoping for
I thought the Ravens would win,
game.
And I even took them as the favorite, but 37-3, no. But they are playing the number one defense in the NFL, and this defense, a Ravens defense, has not been this good since 2013 when they won the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, fantasy owners must have been absolutely chewing out, by the way, because the Ravens, who has Lamar Jackson in our league? Moose, I think.
Yeah, Moose does.
They scored 37 points, and Lamar Jackson had 21 for 26 for 187 yards and no touchdowns. And then 60 yards rushing. So on a 37-point game, he had 140 yards, 240 yards total and no touchdowns. So fantasy owners probably not too happy about that particular breakdown. Tyler Huntley had 1 touchdown passing. That's not me saying anything outside of like against against Lamar Jackson or anything. It's just interesting to see. The Ravens, this is the best that the Ravens defense has looked. And when you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and an offense that's set up like the Ravens, having a good defense is really integral to the way that they're able to play, and they can dominate teams. They get in your face early, and then they go from there. I also think they might have found the guy, from what I saw in Keaton Mitchell, 9 carries, 138 yards on an average of 15.3, and he had 1 touchdown. What I saw from Keaton Mitchell in the way that he runs is the perfect 1-2 punch for an offense like theirs, where you have power. Like, nobody really runs power in the NFL anymore, but the Ravens probably run something close to it when Gus Edwards is back there. And then you have Keaton Mitchell busting out for the big play. I really like that 1-2 punch for them.
Well, we'll get to it, but I see a power run every week in the NFL that you think should be illegal. But we'll get to that when we get to that game.
Don't actually think it should be illegal.
Yeah, the Ravens
my
balled
feelings
out
when we do it.
The AFC better watch out for the Ravens.
Yeah, and I think they play Lamar Jackson passed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different targets. Nine different receivers. 8. Because Justin Hill was targeted but didn't make the catch. 8 different receivers were thrown to in the game as well. So they're spreading the ball around. I know it's a blowout, so you have probably more players in rotation than usual, but that's still impressive, like an impressive spread of the ball. Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, really nice wide receiver group there with Mark Andrews as well as tight end. They have everything that they need. That 3 points worries me for the Seahawks, because they've been looking good this season. Apart from the first game, they've been looking really, really good this season. I like what they've done so far, but just their inability to get the ball going in the run game against this Baltimore Ravens defense, that has to be a worry for them.
Well, this is kind of an oxymoron, but I think you'll understand. The Seahawks are a really good mediocre team. They're a really good average team.
Yeah, like to win a Super Bowl, you have to be A plus. They're probably B plus in most areas.
It's just like when they play a top team, it shows that they're not a top team. But when they play an average team, they're usually better than the average team.
I think this is a big stark contrast. Usually I think their defense will match up better against the top teams than it did against the Ravens. I think the Seahawks had a bad day. The Ravens had a great day. There just seemed to be a mismatch there. But I don't think they have the gas offensively to keep up with the top teams. Anyway, and I think that good but mediocre is summed up in Geno Smith, who we're all praising because of how bad. I feel like he got a lot of praise last year because of how bad he was meant to be, but then how well he played. But if you actually look at the stats from his final 8 games last year, he was just a middle tier quarterback.
Yeah, people got mad at me last year for calling Geno out. So,
team stats: Baltimore Ravens 515 yards, Seahawks 151 yards.
They're averaging 7 points a game against them.
Sorry?
The Ravens are averaging 7 points a game against them.
7 points a game against them. Yeah, their defense is. Has the era finally changed this year of offense, to now we've got these great defenses in the league? It feels like we've got the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Browns,
Chiefs,
the Eagles, the Chiefs.
And if you take out the first 4 games, the Vikings are pretty nasty right now too.
Now the Vikings are making a run for it as well. The Jets, obviously.
I think the answer is yes. I think also we've had some really bad quarterback play, and there's a lot of backups playing right now too.
We are down on going into the season talking about the golden generation of quarterbacks, but the quarterbacks, there's a lot of injured quarterbacks and a lot of quarterbacks not playing fully fit. So Joe Burrow's coming back now, looking good. You have Aaron Rodgers out with an injury.
I got a good transition to a guy who's balling out. How about CJ Stroud, 30 for 42, 470-yard and 5 tuds against the Bucks in an awesome game.
Yeah, just to be fair to the other quarterback in this game as well, Baker Mayfield also has looked awesome this season.
He only had 9 incompletions. Only 9 incompletions all game.
9 incompletions on 265 yards. So when you're reading across 470 yards and 5 touchdowns on the other side, I mean, his stat line doesn't sound as incredible. But 9 incompletions, 265 yards for 2 touchdowns. Like, Baker Mayfield is a quarterback in the NFL, and the Browns are reaping what they sow by getting rid of him. Like, if the Browns had Baker Mayfield playing like this right now, I mean, they've just beat the Cardinals 27-0. But the Browns would be in so much of a better position in terms of cap space, in terms of draft capital, in terms of media coverage, if they kept Baker Mayfield in the building.
Oh, he's going to get re-signed with the Buccaneers. But talking about CJ Stroud, think about his receiving core. Brown went 6 for 153. Schultz went 10 for 130. Dell went 6 for 114. And their best receiver in Nico Collins went 3 for 54.
Yeah, I was hurting in fantasy, but yeah.
I mean, but that team balled the fuck out. That team is looking good.
Yeah, that wide receiver group is sneakily good, and we've been saying it for a few weeks here on this show, which is why you should like and subscribe to our videos, because there's been quite a few things this year where we've been semi-early on things. So make sure to like and subscribe. But they are sneakily good, this Houston Texans wide receiver group. Tank Dell, maybe one of the steals of the draft. I really liked him coming out of the draft. I had him as a steal in the 3rd round. I think he's an excellent. I think he's going to be an excellent weapon for them. Dalton Schultz was always a very solid, above average QB tight end. For the Dallas Cowboys. Noah Brown. You don't want Noah Brown to be your second wide receiver option, like maybe a 3rd, 4th wide receiver option, but has these games sometimes where he just looks unbelievable and like a number 1 wide receiver. And then Nico Collins is in the mold of Terry McLaurin.
It's because him and Brown and CJ Stroud have a connection. And I agree with you, you don't want him as your number 2 unless your quarterback and him have a connection, right? Like, there's just some quarterbacks and wide receivers who just seem to click. You know what I mean? Like, and Dalton Schultz just needed time with CJ Stroud for them to get used to each other. CJ Stroud is fucking balling. You brought it up before the show, but I have to agree with you right now. I think he's rookie of the year.
I think I'm struggling to think of another offensive rookie of the year. I can't pick one off the top of my head. Obviously, Nakua for what he did at the start.
Jordan Addison would be in the conversation now, but I don't think he's the rookie of the year.
Depending on what the Vikings do, maybe.
If we take CJ Stroud out of the conversation, maybe we can come up with a couple people. But he's playing so well. I think he's head and shoulders above everybody else right now.
Yeah, he's also a quarterback, which always helps the
most important position, right?
So to do it. Yeah, most important position. He went to a perfect situation for him where nobody expected anything from him, but the building blocks were perfectly set. And I feel like since we've been doing this show, so about what is it? This is our 3rd season now.
The playoffs will be our start of the playoffs will be 3 years.
3 years, yeah. We've been talking about how the Texans have rebuilt in a sustainable a more sustainable fashion than what the NFL is normally known for, where it looked like they had a kind of 5-year plan of let's build the depth now. And then once we get the opportunity, we're going to take these star players and we'll add them in. And now it feels like they're a couple of difference makers on defense away. And
a playmaking running back.
That's a playmaking running back to go along with Damian Pierce's power running back. Maybe yeah. So maybe a defensive end, a corner, and a running back, and you're like, okay, I could see this team getting to and making a run in the playoffs as long as CJ Stroud's production remains the same, and maybe a more solid number 1, number 2 wide receiver. It's Nico Collins has the potential to be Terry McLaurin. Let's see if he makes it to that point.
I don't disagree with anything you said. And this next thing I'm going to bring up, I feel kind of bad. But that was a rough game for you. The Cowboys at the Eagles. And Matty being so in his feelings that in the group text, he said they should make the brotherly shove or tush push illegal.
Yeah. Full credit to the Eagles for all the innovation. Well done. You've created an awesome play. It's ruining the game, so let's ban it next year.
How is it ruining the game? Everybody's trying it, and only the Eagles can perfect it.
It's ruining. No. It's ruining my game.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Because I don't think it should be banned at all. I think other teams just better learn how to do it better. And defenses just got to come up with a way to stop that.
There is a case to say about, like, I'm willing to listen to the people who say you never used to be able to pull quarterbacks through, you never used to really be able to push them from the back. It's kind of like it's a dangerous play, and do you want your multi-million-dollar asset at the bottom of a brotherly shove? I'm willing to listen to that. It's football, guys. It's a contact sport. They can do whatever the fuck they like, as far as I'm aware.
Has anybody gotten injured on that play, though? I keep hearing it's dangerous, but I never hear of anybody getting injured.
Well, quarterback sneaks are generally can be quite dangerous. Brock Purdy took 2 blows to the head and got concussed pretty instantly from the quarterback sneaks.
Wouldn't that more argue that he's not doing it right then? Because Jalen Hurts doesn't get concussed.
Also, I think the difference is. Yeah, I think the difference is that Jalen Hurts can bet, like, what can't Jalen Hurts, like, squat 500 pounds? Or just
6 something, I think it was, but yeah.
Some fucking crazy number of squat. Right. So, yeah, the difference is Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy there. Like, Jalen Hurts is
right, because you even see Kirk Cousins with a lot of sneaks. You see Josh Allen with a lot of sneaks. You know what I mean? So I'm not.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah.
I think that's more of either bad luck or bad form. I'm not sure with Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Whereas they won't let Patrick Mahomes do quarterback sneaks. Patrick Mahomes will never, ever do a quarterback sneak because of his knee. Like,
I can see Patrick in the Super Bowl going, fuck you, we're sneaking this. But other than that, I agree with you.
But just get a Taysom Hill. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if with this kind of situation where you're lined up in a formation where everybody knows what's going to happen, so there's no element of surprise, it is genuinely worth having your backup quarterback do it.
So Dak goes off, CeeDee Lamb goes off, and you guys still lose. How does that happen? How does Dak throw for 374 and 3 tuds and you still lose?
It's an interesting loss. Like, I come away from that game, I'm not too upset if I'm being like, I was upset obviously in the group chat, but it's because you put me in a group chat with an Eagles fan. So that's the real problem.
And
that's the actual issue.
And an antagonist.
Yeah. So an antagonist, an Eagles fan, and me at fucking 7 a.m. having to watch this shit as well, by the way. Just a reminder as to the situations that I watch the games in. But I started watching that. I had to start watching that game at 4 a.m. Just a reminder. So I was very upset during the game, and then I had a bit of time to think about it. And I was like, do you know what? Not bad, not horrendous. Lot of elements to work with, and the Eagles are beatable is what I came back from there, because we could have beat them.
And
We could have beat.
it almost guarantees you're going to be a wild card.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. If you, I don't want to play this game of refereeing calls because they were bad both ways.
I was just going to say you can't because it was awful both ways.
It's awful both ways, but it feels like, and I don't know whether it's just me, and I don't know whether I'm being biased, and I don't ever want to be biased. It feels like ours meant a little bit more, because the refereeing calls, in terms of the ones where we first started talking about the refereeing calls in the group chat, where it was the Eagles' second touchdown, the drive where the Cowboys drove down the field, there was a pass interference that wasn't picked up. There was a holding penalty, which wasn't a holding penalty, which then stops that drive. And then the Eagles go down the field, get the pass interference for the exact same amount of interference as was on the previous play, and don't get called on several holding penalties on Micah Parsons, which they were doing all game, which you're allowed to hold Micah Parsons apparently because he's so good, but we can't stop the brotherly shove legally, even though that's impossible to stop as well.
I did see a bad personal foul call, a bad call in the end zone. I saw the refs give you guys a touchdown.
Yes, they gave us the touchdown, but actually that play where it's the inch line. So that's what I'm saying. The game is refereed very, very badly. However, the play on the inch line, which you're right, wasn't a touchdown, and they got the right call eventually. However, they then didn't check for pass interference because the guy got there too early. So there was actual pass interference on that play.
Okay, when you slow it down, yes, but when you're watching it live, it's bang bang, and like those are the ones that I don't think you should be able to overturn. If with the eye, it's bang bang.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying overturning with the eye, but that doesn't make it the right call. That doesn't make it the right call on the thing. I'm all for you have to have sufficient evidence to overturn it. All for it. So in a game where it was poorly officiated and whoever lost, both fan bases would blame bad officiating. So the NFL really need to sort this shit out now, because
did you know
it's becoming bad.
The NFL has microchips in the football, but does not use them.
I did know that, and that's mind blowing. It's mind blowing to me entirely. Why are we still using chains to measure?
That play at the goal
down
line would have never had a need a review, never had argument, never nothing if they would have just used the microchip on the goal line.
Whoever is arguing about that being a touchdown, by the way, and not out is that the only reason they'd be doing that is they're a Cowboys fan who's upset. That's the only reason. The solace Cowboys fans can take in it, and the reason that we lost this game is a matter of what did it? I did the measurement and I put it in the group chat. It's like a measurement of 4.5 yards is the reason that the Cowboys lost that game. Like the Cowboys lost,
it's a game of inches.
That game by 4.5 yards. Yeah. They legitimately lost that game by 4.5 yards. So not too bothered about it. The Eagles are beatable as well. And Dak Prescott played better than Jalen Hurts in that game. Didn't win, so it doesn't matter, but just put out.
All right. Well, let's talk about some stuff we got going on this week. And the first game we have is tomorrow. Fucking Amazon must be stoked to have the Panthers at the Bears. Whoo, that's a fucking game everybody wants to see. But the Bears are favored by 3.5 at home.
Good for the Bears, I guess. Like, to be favored in a game, that must be nice for the Bears, right? To be favored in a game, it's not very the Bears this season.
So
yeah,
do you think the Bears?
I'm not sure what to think.
Well, do you think the Bears are going to end up sticking with Justin Fields because they're going to be like, he's injured and we didn't really get to see him for the whole year and he showed a little bit of promise, and just stick with him and not draft a quarterback? Because I'm really hoping that's what they do.
I think they would be insane to not draft the quarterback and then have at the very least, have the competition in camp.
But okay, so let's say they have the number 1 overall pick, and you draft Bo Nix, you draft May, you draft fucking Williams.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Williams, any of them. You have to start them, right? So then Fields has to go.
Well, you put it down to a competition in camp, don't you? Would be the minimum that they would be required to do. Fields has to go if you know what the fuck you're doing, but the Bears do not know what the fuck what they should do, what the Bears ownership should do is if they have the first overall pick and what looks like could be the second overall, they have a legitimate, they're not going to have the first overall pick for their own card because the Panthers will probably have the first overall pick. But which means the Bears get the first overall pick. So actually, this is a game that they don't need to tank in. They can actually go win because it works both ways for them. But if you're the Bears and you have the first overall pick and you have they're in the top, they're going to be in the top 5, aren't they? They're going to be first in the top 5. You sack the coach, you sack the GM, and you just say, right, okay, new GM, new coach. There you go. Here's your start. And you get rid of Fields. And then you go, here's your fresh start.
If you're Atlanta, you call up the Bears after the year and you go, I'll give you a 5th round pick for Justin Fields.
Yeah. And yeah, you do. But also, if you're Atlanta, what you really want is for the Bears to fumble this whole thing and you give them 3 first round picks and go and get the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, yeah, that's working out really well for the fucking Panthers right now too. And I feel bad for Bryce Young because I think that is a Frank Reich problem, and they gave up so much for him that it's going to be hard to build. So you have to fire your coaches and start over. And they have a very impatient owner, which I think hurts. But I think Frank Reich was a bad decision. And I said that when they hired him. Like, what has Frank ever done to prove that he should take that job?
Yeah, you're right, because it was Doug Peterson. It was clearly Doug Peterson, wasn't it, in Philadelphia? That's pretty clear for everybody to see right now. The Panthers have been an interesting team this year with the first overall pick because they have nothing. Bryce Young has nothing to work around, and this is the problem with building your team quarterback first, because I feel like that's the blueprint that a lot of teams go for. They go for, well, once we find our quarterback, you'll be fine. And it's like, no, like that's not. I don't care how good you are if you're in that Panthers team, unless you're the second coming of Michael Vick. It's not gonna. That Panthers team isn't going to look dynamic. Adam Thielen's their number 1 wide receiver this year, I love Adam Thielen as a second or third option, but he is nowhere near a first option.
No, not anymore.
Yeah, the offensive line is horrendous. The run game is non-existent. The defense is serviceable, but not good enough to fight you all the way through a game if you can only score 20 points. What was Young ever going to do in this game?
And they'd be better if the defense wasn't on the field most of the fucking game too.
Yeah, exactly. There's cause to say if the Panthers had DJ Moore, who at times was starting to make him and Justin Fields was starting to get a connection, and he was starting to make Justin Fields look like he could actually pass the ball. So having a good wide receiver does make a difference. So if they had DJ Moore and Will Levis still, for example, and all of those draft picks that they gave up still in the tank, you go, okay, they've got some stuff here that they can work with, because you have DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Will Levis, and then you have all the picks to fix the offensive line. But they don't have that. And there's nothing that they can do from there. The Bears pretend like they have something because they go out and get Sweat on the defensive line instead of doing the sensible thing, which is I'm not going to commit anything to this year and we'll just commit it all to next year again. I think the Panthers have so little on the offensive side of the ball. The Bears might be able to get something going.
They just gave Sweat 4-year extension worth 100 and some million with 70 some million guaranteed.
Yeah, the Bears defense on paper looks good. On the field, it's slow and doesn't get any pressure, but on paper it looks okay. And the Panthers offensive line is not good. So give me the Bears -3, and I hate it.
I agree. I'm going to take the Bears -3, but I'm going to tell it -3.5. But I'm going to tell everybody, don't bet this game. Just don't
bet this game because then you'll also then have to watch it. So yeah, there's a multitude of reasons to not bet it. What's the over under on it? Do you know?
38.5.
No, under.
All right. Well, then we go to the Sunday morning game over in Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, my dog just went off because the mailman came. It's the Colts. At the Patriots in Germany. It's a home game for the Patriots. The Patriots are actually 1.5-point dogs in this game. The Colts are favored over under 30 or 43.5. We talked about it. I think the Colts are looking better. I like where the Colts are going. I think the Patriots are going in the exact opposite direction. Mac Jones is not the answer. Bill Belichick is not the answer anymore. They don't ever draft receivers. They don't know how to draft receivers like N'Keal Harry. Anybody remember that? Okay. They haven't had a real true number one since Randy Moss and Deion Branch were there back in the day. So I have zero faith in the the Patriots. I really like what the Colts are doing. I like the offensive line. They could use some more receiver depth, but Michael Pittman's still balling. Their running game is good. Their defense is looking better. Give me the Colts -1.5.
Yeah, the Patriots defense is okay. Like the Patriots defense is still pretty good. So can it slow up who we were talking about at the start as the seventh scoring offense in the league? Or is it seventh in terms of yardage? That we're saying. Anyway, can they slow them down? Yeah, they're not looking. Yeah, points. It was scoring. So can they slow them down? That's the question. The other question is, can they slow them down enough for the Patriots to be able to score enough points? The Patriots are averaging. Sorry, I had this stat just now.
No worries. While you're looking it up, also the Patriots like to 3 and out a whole lot, which ends up giving the Colts more chance to score.
Yeah, the Patriots are averaging 15 points a game so far this season. That's 31st in the league. So can you hold the team that's averaging 25 points? Can you hold them to below 15? Probably not. Give me the Colts in this game as well. And I think it is time for Bill Belichick at the end of this year. And it's looking like a sad way to go out for him.
Yeah, but that's usually how most coaching careers end at places, is not on good terms. It's usually on bad. But I really like what the Colts are doing. I like the way they're building this team. I don't like the way the Patriots are doing things. I know Patriots fans are pissed off. I've been in a lot of groups, and Patriot fans are not happy, which makes sense. You went 20 years of winning football, and now your team looks bad.
Yeah, I imagine there'll be a lot of Patriots fans in Germany because of the success that they've been having for the past 20 years. I imagine there'll be a lot. There'll probably be a decent amount of Colts fans as well because of the Peyton Manning years. But I imagine there'll be way more Patriots fans there, and that they need to put the Patriots way to bed now. It doesn't exist anymore. It's not a thing that exists. The players that embodied the Patriots way, they've gone. The Julian Edelmans, the Gronks, Tom Brady, being able to scream and shout at your quarterback and Patriots way, which may have just been the Brady way, if we're being realistic right now. That's gone. It's time to move on and get up to date with the way that the NFL is now.
I agree.
And now they'll go out and they'll beat the Colts.
Well, Maddie, we made it through another show. We actually didn't miss a game because of my fuck ups this week. So, and all of you who won, I got to say this, all of you who won t-shirts, stash jars, all that stuff on MMA Underground last week, if Buddy V has not got your address yet, reach out to me on Facebook or leave your IG in the comments here, because I do check it, or hit me on IG with a message and get me your address. Buddy V will get all those out this week. Thanks to everybody for playing the game. It was fun, and it's always fun to give away free merch. So I hope everybody enjoyed that. But get me your addresses so that if Buddy doesn't have them, and Ryan, if you're watching this, you're the one I think we need the address the most from. It was a good time, Maddie.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to everything that we do. It really helps us out. And we appreciate all of your support.
Yeah, go check out my mob documentaries. They're blowing up. I'm very impressed. I never thought I'd have anything on the internet that had almost 45,000 views.
Second wave, like if it's the second push. It's weird how on the internet, how once you tick over a certain number, it's then really easy to get to the next big milestone. You get really close to that next big milestone, and then it becomes impossible to just get over the next big milestone again. And then you tick over and you're like, oh, fuck yeah, we're off again. And like everything goes so quickly.
Yeah, the internet's wild. I still can't wrap my head around the internet sometimes, but
yeah, I still don't think that we've totally got it.
Well, we appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you tap in on Sunday before the game. We'll go through the rest of the games, give you the point spreads, give you our picks and why. And one world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.